And what is important for me to remember in my role is not so much that I say this in the book, that the temptation always, for anybody who was writing about me when I was a chaplain, let alone, writing a book, was that I was sort of this plucky widow, right? And we were out on the field of battle, and Drew fell and dropped the standard, and I picked it up and kept going. Which in a sense is true, but it's also true of any of us who lose someone we love. You have to pick up the standard and keep going. So I am not the minister he would have been. He would have been doing something else, which is and it would have been a very cool thing to do, but whatever it was. But I also understand very clearly, having been the warden service chaplain, a law enforcement chaplain for 7 years, that he wasn't alone. He wasn't actually the only state trooper, the only law enforcement person, officer in Maine or in the country who really brought that kind of energy to work that we tend to see as kind of literally uniform, as if the people are only what we see on the outside and what we imagine on the outside. And 7 years. That he wasn't alone. He wasn't actually the only state trooper, the only law enforcement person, officer in Maine or in the country who really brought that kind of energy to work that we tend to see as kind of literally uniform, as if the people are only what we see on the outside and what we imagine on the outside. And the way I know that is that I work with guys who wear uniforms and wear guns and are trained in the use of force and the whole bit. And even if I wasn't watching them do what they do all of the time, even if I wasn't watching them be there when you need them, and believe me, when you need a game warden, you don't want me. Okay? I mean, I'm nice. It's a great thing, but they do the thing that you really want. They find your child. They find your grandmother who's wandering in the woods. They go down and get the body of your husband out from under the ice. And they do it at tremendous personal risk, and they do it with soft hearts. They like to hide that. They like to forget that. But their hearts are soft. And even if I wasn't seeing them do this every day, day after day, I would know it because actually the chaplaincy of the Maine Warden Service isn't mine. It doesn't belong to me. I didn't begin it. It was begun by game wardens. It is continued by game wardens. It will hopefully, with any luck, transcend me and go on beyond me. This is their ministry. The only reason I know something's going on in the woods is they call me. They make the space for me to come in, and they do that because they recognized that when people are in these situations out in the world and are suffering, that they want to be able to relieve that suffering, and they can't. Bring the chaplain in, the chaplain has a shot at it. The chaplain can do things they can't do. So I actually do no more and do no less, hopefully, than represent the love and compassion and care that is in them. And I like this because, by extension, I also represent the love and compassion and care of the people of the state of Maine, because they field these guys and they field me. They put us out there, they give us our equipment, they pay for my little uniform and my collar and the whole bit. And so I like that. I'm there on behalf of the people of the state of Maine. And then I think, well, actually, I'm kind of there also on behalf of human kindness in general, right? Which means, as far as I'm concerned, that I really do get to represent God. And that's a pretty amazing thing. That's a pretty amazing thing. I have one story for you, which really goes to this new peculiar calling that seems to be happening to me more or less against my will, which is when I wrote this book, I really anticipated it was going to be a local phenomenon. I had some sense, okay, probably it could get published. I mean, books get published in Maine, but I did not expect it to be what it is. And I didn't expect it to be as time-consuming as it is. I did not expect, for instance, to be picked up at a drowning, actually. I was at a drowning, and it was picked up and taken to be interviewed on NPR, and then they brought me back to the drowning. I mean, there's, so there's been a fair amount of cognitive dissonance here. And I'm trying, with the help of my darling husband, I'm trying to go with it and allow the fish to just, digest me a while before it pukes me up wherever I'm supposed to be. But I do keep coming back to that place where what I see is cops and what I love is cops. And so I hope that all of us, when we read books by people who have a particular angle on things, I hope that what I've done is not only allowed people to see Unitarian Universalism if they didn't know about it before. That really makes me happy that I've done that, because I've always felt sort of guilty being up in the woods, like I wasn't doing much for the cause. So it's good to know I've done something. But I hope it also allows people to see cops differently, to understand them differently.